I think that regionalization or that localization is very important.
Hi everyone, I'm here today with Chesna, the marketing manager at Eastern Condiments for the Mena region, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to give us a quick overview about what you do, about the company, about yourself?
Okay. So I am part of the marketing team, and as you know, Eastern is a spices and condiments brand hailing from India. And at Eastern, I do the marketing activities, the campaigns, and the branding for the brand for Middle East region and North Africa.
Okay. Yeah. I remember the first time we met, you told me about the origin of the brand. It was an interesting story. Do you want to share it with us?
Yeah. So Eastern is a brand from India, started in Kerala. So it was founded by Amy Meeran, and the brand has a long legacy. So it started from a small shop, which was sort of a mill setup. And from there, the brand has now, grown so big, expanded across countries. And we cater basically the spices and masalas, which is suiting to the Indian flavors. So when we came to Middle East, the journey was even more interesting. Now it's almost, I think, 30 years that we are here in the Gulf region. Because as you know, there are a lot of Indian expats in the region, and people are looking to, bring their cuisines from their land. So definitely the brand has grown, and we are the market leaders in the spices and masala category. And I think, that's where we are.
Okay, and after that expansion, like right now in 2023, how do you use different social media platforms to promote Eastern?
So we have Eastern India as our one of the main platforms, which is there in Instagram and Facebook. But here, after a point of time, we realized that we should be a brand who should cater to the local audience. So that's when we launched the Eastern Arabic category 2 years back. And now we have Eastern Arabia as a handle. So we are present across 4 platforms. We are there on Facebook, we are there on Instagram, we're there on YouTube, and recently we have started being on TikTok. So these are the 4 key platforms that Eastern Arabia is there, because I think Arabic category is what we try to brand and promote here, because otherwise Eastern India is anyways getting the spillover from the handle in India.
So you started to create you created different pages to create local content for the different audiences that you're targeting. Yeah. And how important would you say that is to create local content for different audiences?
I think very important, because if we don't have the regional connect, we are losing out on the audience. So especially because the Arabic category is only for the Arabs. So we position ourselves as a spices that want to cater to the traditional and the authentic flavors of Arabia. So in fact, our tagline is the taste of Arabia. So if you go to our pages, you can see that we only put in Arabic content.
Okay.
So we don't want to put it out there that we are an Indian brand, or it's not that, we are not a global brand, but I think that regionalization or that localization is very important. So every content that we put in each of these platforms, the predominant, or I would say 90% of the content is in Arabic. And few cases we try to put in a little bit of English, and now that Instagram also has the feature of C translation, so you don't have to outrightly write the English there.
Okay.
But even, say from the point of view of an Arabic audience or a follower of that page, when I see a content in my language, I would feel more connected to the brand.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah.
And it's easier to understand also for certain people.
Yes. So certain words, certain lingos, definitely that will connect in Arabic to the Arab audience.
Okay, and when you're working on that, on your marketing budget, what are the 3 main things that you keep into consideration when you're working on the split?
So I think the fundamental of marketing budget, the main aspect starts with the marketing calendar. So you have to have your framework done using the marketing calendar. So once your marketing calendar is set, You know what are you going to do on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis, and basis that you have to allocate the budget. Now, an ideal scenario would be where you do an equal split among the 4 quarters. But that's an ideal thing on papers. But realistically, what would work is, we need to identify the occasions or the seasons or the campaigns, which month or which quarter they are falling into. So, for example, if I talk about this Arabic category again, we know Ramadan is the biggest time, or in terms of any retail brand. So this quarter, like quarter 1 plus quarter 2, becomes the most important time in the whole marketing calendar for Arabic. So definitely my budgets will be skewed more to quarter 1 and quarter 2 versus the other quarters. So the budget split has to be always, it has to go back to your campaign, and it has to go back to which occasion that you want to capitalize. So basis your TG. But if I were to say in India, maybe one of the biggest festival is Diwali. So for Diwali, which is falling in quarter 3, so I need to know that I need to put a more budget in quarter 3 versus the other quarters. So the calendar becomes the base where you start in splitting it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how.
So that's the main focus. And after you define the occasions, anything else you take into account when you're splitting the budget?
So ideally, what I have seen as a good practice, and what I also follow right now, is I split it into macro and micro occasion. So say macro occasion is Ramadan, but I cannot ignore say the International Women's Day or the Mother's Day and small occasions that happens. So again, you need to choose the media that you want to. So I might be doing, say, on an ATL level Ramadan, but on a digital or a social media level, I can capitalize on these micro occasions. So yeah.
Okay. And with your current online presence, how important would you say community management is?
Very important, because as you know, your community is the voice of your brand. So ultimately they are going to spread the word of the mouth. And if you are not continuously in conversation with your followers, you tend to lose them. So I think, how is a community formed? So like, say my followers on Instagram, they might be following my page because they would have seen some interesting content. And if I don't do it in a consistent manner, if I just post, say, once in a month and then I'm silent for another couple of weeks and then I put in some random content, I think that connect will be missed. So the key to it is have a consistent communication. And once you have that consistent communication, you have to also ensure that there is some engagement happening with your audience. So it's not just a one-way communication, especially with social media. People are open to express their opinions and, talk about it. So once you create that two-way communication among your followers, this community will become the voice or the brand advocates, I would call them. And tomorrow, even I don't need to do a paid collaboration, or I don't have to get an influencer just for money. They can post an organic content if they like your brand, and if they like something on your page, they can repost it on their story, and that becomes a huge mileage for your brand.
And how does community vary, like between your original page and your Arabia page?
So in the India page, the content is more in the regional language. So as I said, the brand hails from Kerala, so it's in Malayalam. Even in India, we are expanding to other South Indian territories like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. So we are incorporating those regional languages as well. So just like in Arabia page, we have the Arabic language. So there, if you see the communication, the content, the kind of influencers, everything is in those regional nuances. But here we try to make it in Arabic. So now if you go to the page, you can see everything is revolving around Ramadan.
Okay, makes sense.
Sense.
And what do you think is the most valuable kind of engagement, or which type do you want to get the most?
I think recently we have noticed that rather than putting a static content, when we do an engagement post, that actually gives us a lot of, the engagement rate is quite high for those posts. So I can just take an example. Recently there was a Mother's Day contest run. So it was very simple, nothing to do with food or spices. We just wanted to emotionally connect with our audience. So what we asked the audience was just to describe their mother in one word. And the engagement was like huge, and it wasn't paid, very organic. So we realized that sometimes it's not only about, you talk about your brand and, only the content revolving around that, but when you capitalize these small micro occasion and you emotionally wanted to get into the hearts of your customers, these kind of engagement, like a contest or a competition, these kind of things also work.
Okay. And I know Eastern works with a lot of influencers, like regularly. What are the 3 main things that you take into account when you're selecting which influencers to collaborate with?
I think the first and foremost thing is content. Firstly, because influencer community is growing and it's big right now. So first thing that we notice is what's the kind of content that they do on their pages. So if for our brand it's more specific to food, we look at food influencers and are they doing recipe videos? Are they promoting a lot of brands? So the content becomes the key. And I see a lot of influencers are putting so much effort into creativity. So how are the creatives coming out? So it's not just about, just putting some content, but the way they shoot it, the way they add the music, the way they change the frames. So I think content is king. So the first parameter would be content. Secondly would be not just how many followers they have, because a lot of times brands benchmark, are we taking a micro or a macro or a mega influencer, but also looking at the engagement rate, because we just don't want people to just swipe, and they see a reel as people will, it's easy to see something you like and then you swipe. But if you're actually interested in the content, people will share, people will comment, people will have queries. So what's the engagement rate like? So is the audience who are say 100K, how many of them are actually engaging with their content? So that I think would be the second parameter. And the third one would be the kind of collaborations that they do.
Okay.
So maybe the kind of brands they associate and the number of brands they associate. If they are someone who associate with each and every brand, like we would want to set a standard, and also we don't want them to do a lot of competitor products, because then their content is not very credible. Because today they speak about one of a competition, tomorrow they are talking about Eastern. So it'll look like we are paying them to talk. So rather it should look like a credible content that they're doing it not just for money, but also because they feel that this product is good. So I think the kind of brands they do and the number of brands. So if they're a food brand, a food blogger, ideally they should be associating with food brands, not just, any other random brands.
Okay, so their focus as well.
Yeah, so those are the 3 parameters I would say.
Okay, makes sense. And finally, a personal question, why did you decide to get into marketing, and what do you enjoy the most about working in marketing?
I think I really loved marketing because I am originally an engineer. With a background of electronics and communication.
Okay.
But the moment I did pursue my MBA in marketing, I was like, okay, this is where I have to be, because I got really passionate about this whole subject. About how, the whole branding is done for various brands, the kind of communication. So I am very enthusiastic about my profile. And I think one of the main things is there are a lot of things which is happening, which is changing and which is dynamic around us. And consumers are also always on the lookout, what's new. And that's the challenge for a marketer also, to keep the consumer not from going to another brand, but just to say loyal to us. So what new and what is the interesting thing that you can bring out on the table? It can be either on your product, or it can be on the promotion or the placement, like the 5 P's of marketing, how do you play around with it? So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I didn't know you're an engineer. That's also interesting for me. But yeah, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for coming today. And thanks guys, whoever watched till here.